What up? It's your boy Wall Street, and I'm back, ready for another 2024-25 NBA season review. And today we're talking about a team that I'm very excited about, the Houston Rockets, because this team just has so much talent, and it was unfortunate the way, it ended for them in the playoffs. Lost in 7 games to the Golden State Warriors. They lost Game 7 at home. And by the end of the game, it kind of just looked like they just weren't ready, and that's to be expected on some level. I think this team could only accomplish so much in one season, right? To be the number 2 seed in the Western Conference and being as young of a team that they are, right? Like, most of these guys have never had playoff experience. Obviously, you have Fred VanVleet, who won a championship in Toronto. You have Jeff Green, also has championship experience. There's a lot of good players on here that had championship experience, have playoff experience, but the bulk of the guys that were starting, playing the majority of the minutes, they did not have a ton of playoff experience. And that's Amen Thompson, Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün, right? The real guys on, and they have Tari Eason, you have Jabari Smith Jr., like those guys also no real playoff experience. So let's start from the top, right? Let's start from the top. So the Rockets finished the season in the Western Conference as the number 2 overall seed, finished with a 52-30 record, which is crazy to say, was 16 games back of the Oklahoma City Thunder, who went 68-14. Just shows how dominant the Thunder are. But they had a very good home record, 29-12 at home and 23-17 away, 13-3 in the division, 31-21 in the conference. So, they just, I think the matchup with the Warriors was the tough part, right? Because anytime a team's going up against the Warriors, especially with the Warriors as an underdog, everyone's always doubting the Warriors, which they really shouldn't. And, they came out and smacked them game 1, like Warriors came into Houston and hit them hard, right? They were up by like 20 points at one point in the game. So I think, especially with the jawing that, Dylan Brooks does, especially Dylan Brooks and Draymond Green matching up, is just like, I think it didn't necessarily work out in their favor. And I would imagine, a lot of guys in the Rockets feel pretty, down in the dumps right now, but I don't think they should. I think they had a good season regardless. And this is the first step, and I think many steps that this team will take. And eventually, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them in the conference finals, and then we see them in the NBA finals, and we see them win a title. I honestly think if you keep the structure of this team together and you keep, Ime Udoka as the head coach, Rafael Stone's doing his thing, behind the scenes, being the exec that's putting this whole team together. And, I think they just have so much potential. The players on this team are just so good, and they're so young. So obviously Jalen Green played all 82 games, was the leading scorer for the team this season, 21 points a game. He played 33 minutes a night. You have Şengün, who was a first-time All-Star, 19.1 points per game in 76 games played, 10.3 rebounds, 4.9 assists. Fred VanVleet played 60 games, 35 minutes a night, 14.1 points per game, 5.6 assists, 1.6 steals. And then you have Amen Thompson, who got significant amount of votes for Defensive Player of the Year as well as Most Improved Player. He averaged 14.1 points per game, 32.2 minutes a night, 8.2 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 1.4 steals, and 1.3 blocks. Just such a well-rounded all-around player, and I've talked about this before on the channel. I personally think Amen Thompson has one of the highest ceilings in the NBA. I think Asar Thompson, his twin brother on the Pistons, also has an incredibly high ceiling. It just seems like we're seeing it more so quickly for Amen. But to be honest with you, I think Amen Thompson has MVP type of potential. He is that good and has that much raw talent that if he adds a jump shot to his game, because he really is not a good shooter right now, he's going to be unstoppable, absolutely unstoppable. He takes a lot of shots close to the basket, so he shot 55% from the field, which is incredible. But only shot 27.5% from three, 68% from the free throw line. Didn't take a lot of threes this season, only took 1.3 attempts per game from three-point range. So he's got some growing to do, but to put up these types of numbers in his second year is just absolutely incredible. So super proud of Amen Thompson. I'm a huge fan. Dylan Brooks, 14 points a game, 75 games played. He puts in that, that grit and that enforcement that every team needs. He really, rides for his guys on the team. And, as much as people hate on him, I understand why. He's a good player to have on your team. You just don't like playing against him, right? And then Jabari Smith Jr., who was the third overall pick, I believe, in the 2021 NBA draft. Or no, sorry, I think it was 2022. Could be wrong, though. So Jabari Smith Jr., 57 games played. He was out for a significant portion of the season. 39 games started. They wind up taking him off the bench, a little bit. Him and Amen Thompson kind of switched time between being the sixth man. So Jabari Smith Jr., 12.2 points per game, 7 rebounds. And he embraced his role. That's the thing I really appreciated about Jabari Smith Jr. was it didn't matter if he was coming off the bench or if he was starting. He played hard regardless. He's a team player, and he wants to win. So very, very good piece to have on the team. And then Tari Eason, also a great defender that came off the bench, 12 points a game, 1.7 steals, 0.9 blocks. He's a piece that I think is just going to continue to help them. And so now we get into the part of the roster that didn't really play a lot, right? You had Cam Whitmore, who, everyone has said was the steal of the 2023 NBA draft. And I personally do believe that still. He just is not getting an adequate amount of playing time. But he's only 20 years old. He is an incredibly talented player, super athletic. I remember when the 2023 NBA draft came around, I was watching, and on the big board, it was like he was like the player that was slated to go fourth, right? He was slated to go fourth, I think, to Houston, which wound up being Amen Thompson, and he wound up slipping all the way to 20th, still going to Houston, though. So, he just hasn't really been able to get as much playing time as he probably should, because Amen Thompson is obviously a better player at this point in time and has shown that he deserves it more. I think he's a better defender as well. But this is part of the bigger conversation of, do the Houston Rockets need to trade away some of this talent that's just sitting on the bench, right? Because Cam Whitmore is not getting a lot of time. Obviously, Reed Shepherd, the third overall pick in this past year's draft in 2024, he barely played, right? And when he did play, he showed some flashes that he was, good and has a lot of talent, and I do believe he has a lot of talent. But Reed Shepherd went through the season averaging 4.4 points per game, played 52 games, only 12.6 minutes a night. So this also, I think, has to do with the larger question of, like, Fred VanVleet has a team option for next season. $44 million. I would imagine they're going to pick that up, but let's say they pick it up. Maybe do you trade Fred VanVleet and try to slot in Reed Shepherd, right? He's had a year to kind of sit on the bench, practice with all these guys, hasn't had a lot of pressure on him to really perform yet. Do you trade away Fred VanVleet and, maybe get something else, maybe get some more draft picks back? Like, Lord knows they already have a ton of draft picks. Maybe you do that and, you slot in Reed Shepherd and see what he can do, right? Maybe he's more of what you need for this team to get further in the playoffs. I don't know, right? So there's a lot of optionality that they can go with here. I think the other big question in terms of free agency is Steven Adams is currently a free agent, right? His contract expired at the end of the season. So will they re-sign Steven Adams, or will they let him walk? I think Steven Adams was a big piece that they used in the playoffs. He obviously got inserted to be that enforcer, to be that interior defender in the post, and also just get offensive rebounds. The guy is one of the best rebounders I've ever seen, frankly. And, I think Şengün's also a great rebounder, but Steven Adams really is coming in the game to be an enforcer, get boards, and just make sure that guys understand that he can't mess with his teammates. You know, like if there's ever a fight that breaks out on the court, Steven Adams will quite literally go over to guys and pull them off of his teammates. He does not care. There's no emotion involved. He just rips them off. So, one of my favorite players, honestly. But he's 31 years old. If he's not going to stay in Houston, I would imagine he's going to get a decent amount of money on the open market. Right, Jeff Green, who's 38, is also going to be a free agent. I'm not sure if he's even going to play again next season. Who knows? He's had an incredibly long career. Shout out Jeff Green. He had heart problems a while ago, and it was a question of whether or not he was even going to be able to play basketball again. And to have extended his career, you know, this much longer after those issues, just incredible. So hats off to Jeff Green as well. But you have Şengün starting a big contract extension next season. He's jumping from $5.4 million this season on the last year of his rookie deal to $33.9 million next season. You have Jalen Green on a similar thing. He's jumping up to $33.3 million next year. Was getting paid $12.4 this year, last year of his rookie deal. You know, so Amen Thompson's probably going to get paid at some point. He's still got a couple years left on his rookie deal. Jabari Smith Jr. probably also going to get paid at some point. So this team is incredibly young. They still have a very good window with their young players on very salary cap friendly contracts because a lot of them are rookie deals. They have a lot of room here to really still grow. So I think in the next 1 to 2 years, like we could genuinely see this team make it very deep in the postseason and even win a title. I really do think that the Rockets have that much potential. So they also, right, to just make matters even better for them, like I was saying, they have a ton of draft picks. So Houston is going to get Phoenix's pick this year. Right now, as the lottery odds stand, the Phoenix Suns are projected to pick 9th in the NBA draft. The draft lottery is on Monday. I got my fingers crossed that the Wizards are going to win that. I have a lot of faith that the Wizards are going to win the number 1 overall pick. But Phoenix still has a chance to get high up in the draft, right? And even if not, the 9th overall pick is still a very high pick for a team that just finished number 2 in the Western Conference. So Houston is set up for the future. They are I don't even know what to say. So Houston's pick, which would be 27th overall, is going to go to Brooklyn. Brooklyn has a slew of first-round picks this season in addition to Brooklyn's own pick. They traded with the Rockets a while back, actually, to get back their 2025 and 2026 first-round picks, which is how I think Houston also wound up with Phoenix's 2027 first-round pick. So Houston has draft capital, you know, coming out the waz. Like it's going to be insane how many good players they're going to be able to stack over the next couple of seasons, or what they can do to trade for a player by trading away that draft capital that they've been stockpiling. So the Houston Rockets are in great shape. I am incredibly, you know, like if I'm a Houston Rockets fan, I'm incredibly happy with what's going on here. Unfortunately, I'm not. I'm a Wizards fan, so I can only hope that the Wizards can emulate what the Rockets have done here over the next couple of seasons, because this is really, you know, I thought they were going to really be down in the dumps for a while after the James Harden trade, and they've rebounded fairly quickly. You know, James Harden hasn't been on, you know, the Rockets in several years now, so they've had quite some time to rebuild. But to go from, you know, let's call it 4 or 5 years ago, and James Harden is no longer on your team since that point, and now you're the second best team in the West. You know, I don't know how much more you could have asked for. And you have all these draft picks coming your way. So they lucked out. They really did luck out. But that's really all I got, guys. I'm a big fan of this team. If you're a Rockets fan, like I said, I don't think you have anything to worry about. I think this was a big step for them to have this great regular season record, make it into the playoffs, take Steph Curry and Draymond Green to a Game 7 and Jimmy Butler to a Game 7. And I think that was probably the best learning experience that could have come out of this, right? So if you're a Rockets fan, let me know in the comments what you think about this team. Where do you think they're going in the next couple of seasons? What do you think they need to do going into the offseason and next season and the draft to make their team even better? want to know your thoughts. So please leave some comments down below. As always, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate you doing both of those things. Helps me, helps you, helps the channel. We all win. But I'm going to check you guys later, man. Stay safe, stay up, stay blessed, stay humble, handle business, stand on business. Peace out.